My name is Helen Lewis, and I'm the mother of Danny Hauser, and I am involved in the Seventh-day Adventist Prison Ministry Fellowship, which I've been doing for about 19 years. I am also a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
You've been doing prison ministry for 19 years. Mm-hmm. That's really commendable.
I haven't seen Danny for a long time, but I always knew, where he was and always praying for him. And I knew he was in the prison system, but I didn't know which prison as yet. And the day that Danny came through, what we did at McNeil Island is always we welcome the men as they come into the chapel, and with a huggy handshake, and so here the guys are coming in one by one, and we had a lot of guys that came to our program, sometimes as much as 100 or more. Well, here comes, and then all of a sudden there I am facing my own son with his hand out, and that was really quite traumatic, as you might think. And so he went on down the line. I'm sure traumatic for him too. My daughter and her husband and my husband were also in that line, so this was definitely a family reunion. They are also involved in prison ministry. And so Danny goes and takes his place in the chapel, and after we welcome all the guys in, then we do our program. We always start with prayer and song service. And I'm up front leading the song service, and seeing my son out there, and I had to excuse myself. You can't be a volunteer at a prison if you have a family member who is also incarcerated there. So we had to remove ourselves from the volunteer program at that point until the prisoners decided that they loved Danny, but that Danny had to go, because they wanted us back, and so we came back after Danny left again, and they sent him to Monroe Prison, and then we continued to volunteer at McNeil Island. The reason we got involved into the volunteer prison ministries program in the first place was because of our love for our children, first of all, and it's like when Danny got involved in drugs at an early age and left home, I continued to pray for Danny, but I also did more than just pray for Danny. I became involved in the drug 12-step recovery program and did that for many years, ministering to other people's children with the prayer that God would, have somebody ministering to my children. And so that's what got us involved in when I heard, that about the prison ministry, I thought that's where we ought to be also. And we so fell in love with ministering to other people's children and praying that God would send somebody to minister to mine. And God is so awesome, you just can't outgive God. A number of years ago, I would pray, God, this is what I want you to do, and this is how I want you to do it. And I learned over the years that God knows what's best. And so finally, I pray, and I always have been praying for a long time now, that God, whatever it takes, bring my children into a relationship with you, to know you, love you, and serve you. And God is so awesome. And I am so happy to know that there are organizations now like Adventist Prison Ministry Fellowship that reaches out and loves people into Jesus. You cannot outgive God. I know that, and yes, we have been blessed, and we've been growing as a result of being involved in the Adventist Prison Ministry. I see the new creature in Danny. He's not the same Danny that he was. He is so in love with Jesus Christ, and I can see that in him, and all that he does is this what God wants me to do? He's an elder in our church. He ministers. He's going to school at Tacoma Community College. I think God wants us more than just to pray. He wants to use us in reaching out for those, if not our own kids, if we can't reach out at the time for our own family members, somebody else's family member, and pray that God would send somebody else to my family member, so yeah, I would say get involved. I would say to people, get involved. Not only pray, because God hears our prayers, and it's God who has to work in us both to will and to do. But don't just stop there. Get involved yourself. If your kids are in the drug scene, get involved in a 12-step recovery program, a Christian 12-step recovery program. If your children are incarcerated, please become a volunteer in another prison if you can, or whatever, or work in some way to minister in that what you're praying for. Oh, there is such a need for volunteers. Particularly, my husband is 84 years old, I'm 74 years old, and we'd like to see some young people get involved. And so we are making our appeal from time to time in our own local church, and hopefully get some younger people involved too. And in fact, I had one person tell me just the other day, well, how exactly does that go? How do I get involved? I said, well, first of all, you tell me or anyone that's involved in the prison ministry fellowship, and we get you the appropriate paperwork to fill out first to take to the chaplain at the prison that you want to work in. And then when the background check has been approved there, the paperwork comes back to us. Then you come out with us, and you see, how, and you observe, and you see how it works. And if you play a musical instrument, then that's really a good way you can minister that way. Or if you want to speak, you have a testimony of your own you would like to share. And there'll be one of us seasoned volunteers there to help you. There's going to be plenty of support for the new people getting involved too.